Hey everyone, and welcome back to Gotcha Interact. Today's video, and yes, we are a little bit late to this because this was over a day ago now, but we are going to be looking at the recent developers discussion from the other day. And the biggest change on this, and probably why you also clicked on the video, is that in short, we're going to be getting artifact loadouts. And that is a huge change, something that all of us, all of the players, have been asking for way too long, and it's just about time that we are actually finally getting something like this. But without further ado, let's jump into what they have to say and see what other cool things they might also add with this little update here. So, Vixen, what do we see first, jumping right in?
Well, like you said, the first and probably the biggest thing is going to be our brand new artifact loadout. So, looking at artifacts, said stay goodbye to TDS gear swaps. Artifact Fast Equip now supports save and switch custom loadouts. So, starting from version 5.7, stated right here, head to the character and then the character menu, then the artifacts menu, and tap Fast Equip to create up to 2 custom loadouts per character, making gear management flexible and hassle free. So, how do you set it up? When creating a loadout for the first time, you're going to tap the little plus symbol to set a related parameters that you're going to have, your main affixes for the main stats basically, your artifact set types, possibly some sub stats and stuff as you can see here. They press the plus and then they have all the extra little things here. And then they have a recommended thing that you can also do, which also does like a kind of just immediately put together an artifact set and pulls the artifacts from those sets and kind of makes the perfect build for you. Additionally, when tapping, check alternatives in recommended sets or custom configuration, which is nice because that means that you can, instead of just doing a random throw these all together, you can actually choose the specific sets or specific artifacts. The new set filter feature will let you instantly compare currently equipped artifacts with those matching your selected main affix or your main stats, all on the same page. So you can pull up the different set filters to maybe choose between different sets as you have the recommended sets and then the other sets that you might have clicked on here as well that still fit the parameters that you've kind of chosen. So, pretty big thing. We have been wanting this for a long time. It has just probably taken them time to actually make it and make it look like what it is. I'm pretty sure this is probably not something that took only a couple of weeks for them to figure out all the logistics and make sure it actually works all correctly. Because if and we've talked about this in a previous developers discussion, which was my initial thought process why it would take so long, is purely just because looking at making this type of thing, it sounds easy in practice, but it seems, if you actually really think about it, pretty difficult. So I'm even a little surprised it's done this early. Rift, I want to know your thoughts, but my initial thing that I know some people are kind of thinking about as a little bit of an annoyance is the idea that it's almost a little bit of an issue with the idea of like, okay, it still doesn't like tell you like if your artifacts are not previously equipped on the character. So if a different character, let's say you're playing with your Kanish, but all of a sudden another character for some odd reason steals his artifacts because you've switched their better pieces on them for an Abyss run or something. Well, then you try to go use a Kanish later because you forgot to switch them back over, and now your Kanish is missing a Sans, his weapon is accidentally switched over or something, and the game's not telling you. So I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I
was
see
a
what you're
concern.
getting at. So, yeah, absolutely. And you also mentioned like weapon. That'd be cool. Like, if you were like making not just artifact loadouts, but like the build loadout. So it includes the weapon and the artifacts. But the
Right.
idea of what you're saying, I totally agree with. And I wasn't actually thinking about it just then until you brought it up. But I have thought about that in the past. And to be, a very good point to bring up, because like you said, let's say, this might be controversial, but the point stands, and I think it makes for a good example. With Raiden, you have her typical four-piece emblem, but then a fair amount of people like to do Hyper Bloom, but, and there's a bunch of other characters that will do something like where you can do this kind of a build, or versus doing this kind of a build based on what you're actually doing in the game. So I just like this example because they're so different and so contrasting. But, so yeah, like what if you equip on your Hyper Bloom, artifact loadout for Raiden? First off, who is that stealing from? Whether that's Kuki or someone else that's using flower, maybe you're stealing from Nilu or something. Who knows? And also, where do those emblem pieces go? Does it just swap them with the other character that had those flower pieces on, or if the flower pieces that weren't even equipped, I guess the emblem pieces that were originally on your Raiden are just now non-equipped? Does switching back revert those and swap what you stole from Nilu or Kuki back to Nilu and Kuki respectively? And maybe even if you switch to the Hyper Boom set on Raiden, and before changing her back to her emblem set, if I go over to my Kuki and see that she's all mixed up because now she's got like 3 emblem pieces on or something, if let's say on my Kuki I have her Hyper Bloom loadout set on the custom loadout, if I click on that and I equip all of that, will it give Raiden back her emblem pieces, or where do those go? So like you can see how things could like get jumbled around pretty easily if you're doing this constantly on many different characters without reverting the ones you've changed before going to, revert another one, and staying one at a time. But the whole idea of a good artifact loadout system would be to be able to just go to any character, equip the set regardless, and maybe it gives you the confirmation prompt like, hey, so and so is using this, are you sure you want to do that, and make them swap. And we already do see that with like single swapping of artifacts, like, hey, your Toma's over here using this piece, are you sure you want to? Yes, I do. So I'm concerned. I'm not worried that that would be an actual problem, because if it is, that's gonna be really bad. And they're gonna have to do something, and the community will definitely be like, bro, I thought this was it. I thought we finally got it, and it's still not kind of technically there, because I don't remember what it was. We had a previous dev discussion, I don't know, like a year or 2 years ago, that had to do with, we can see like the most used artifacts when you're actually equipping artifacts to your characters. I just remember several months ago or whatever, they did do kind of an overhaul to the interfacing of artifacts, and you can like quick filter for things. They changed how that all worked, and it was a lot more similar to Star Rail. We even talked about that in that dev discussion video. So people, I think, were initially excited about that change, because we're like, hey, this looks like this looks similar to like artifact loadout ideas, and we didn't get it. So we're like, oh, we still don't have it. This though looks like what we've been asking for. So yes, I'm still a little bit concerned, like little just kind of anxious to see like it's actually what we've been asking for. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
hopefully it is, and I really don't think that it would be an issue, because like based on what we're seeing in that background, like on your screen and on the video screen, watching that background with their amber, it seems to be working like I would have imagined. So you can like just filter for literally everything you want. It saves that, it remembers that, so you can come back. And I would imagine, let's say you've done other stuff on like 5 other characters, like maybe you were messing around with your Tainao or your Ganyu, which would use those Wanderer's Troop pieces that it's showing on this amber, right? What happens when you come back to this amber, this player's amber on the screen, and she goes, you just click a button, it's just the equip in the bottom right, and it would just take them all back with the confirmation, hey, you're taking away from Ganyu. And then I can go back to my Ganyu and just press the same button, equip, and it would just take it from amber. So if it does it correctly, I think we're okay. And this is exactly what we've been waiting for, especially when you have many, many different characters that you've actually built up. This is going to be really nice for doing Imaginarium Theater. It will be nice for this too, but Imaginarium Theater, with just so many characters you're using, if you don't have, maybe you've only been playing the game for like maybe a year or maybe almost 2 years, the Imaginarium Theater still takes so many characters that you may not have multiple sets of a certain 4-piece set, and multiple characters can use the same exact pieces. Like a lot of your Obsidian Codex pieces, if it's not from Mulan, like let's just say it's Mawika and Varessa, you can honestly take your Mawika build, throw it on Varessa, and it's going to work 99% of the time, because they both like the double crit attack percent. The only drawback for Varessa would be the EM if you have EM pieces on Mawika. But I think you get what I'm saying. The idea is there, where you can just slap that on and swap between them. And so a big idea of like what is coming to mind here is resin efficiency. But if you're trying to build everyone where they have their own unique pieces, that is just so time consuming and expensive to do over a period of time. I'm still building characters, and I've been building characters since like the Chasm update. And when I originally set off on my quest to just, I want to build every character just to build every character. I don't care if they're bad. I don't care how good they are. I just want to build every character. It's a completionist thing. That's how I'm enjoying the game, and I've been loving it so far, but I'm still not done yet. And part of that is having new characters come out that adds on to what I'm already trying to complete. So there is that. But not everyone, and I realize this, not everyone is going to have unique sets for each character. They may have to have shared Marchazé pieces between the Neuvillette, Linny, or Risley, or whatever, or their Gaming, let's just say, with the Farina team. There's a lot of scenarios where you have to switch around and share artifact pieces, especially the newer and newer that player is. So this is going to be so helpful to amend that, just annoying issue of constantly swapping things out manually instead of just being able to have that quick swap. And that's why so many players have been asking for this. So I kind of just went on a whole kind of like narrative of like why we even want this. But I think it's gonna be good, okay? And so far it looks so good. You know what I'm saying? So I am a little worried that something could go wrong, but it's looking good so far.
We'll hope for the best out of this specific thing, that's for sure. Looking at the next thing we have is looking at the Spiral Abyss. So it states that you now have a new retry challenge button, which will auto claim also with your Abyssal Stars. So as you can see here in the new version, if you have not obtained all the Abyssal Stars after clearing a chamber, you can choose between retrying the previous chamber or moving on to the next. So that also means that if you have like kind of this retry right here on the chamber 1, which in my opinion, also very, very nice. So very, very cool. Additionally, after clearing floor 12, chamber 3, so as soon as you actually go through all the way, they did that whole idea now where you have like the exit thing that you can now do and the kind of like retry as well at the end. I believe that was the last or the dev discussion before it. But also the summary screen will show your maximum abyssal stars that you have earned in that specific run and will automatically claim the corresponding stars bounty rewards. So if you haven't touched it at all, it'll give you everything. If you had, maybe you had done floor 9 and 10 and then, you can claim then, I guess, afterwards. But then, you'd have to go out and claim in separately. But if you went in and did 11 and 12 after that on a separate, time because you didn't have all the time to go through 9 through 12, then it would give you the rewards just for 11 and 12 if you've already claimed the others, which is also kind of cool to see as well. So nothing crazy about this really. It's just kind of more quality of life. It's a few button clicks less, and we kind of usually see this with the dev discussion. They usually work on one big thing, and then everything else is kind of extra after that. And what I mean by extra is they just kind of have some extra small quality of life things that some people have been like, hey, voicing their concerns to me, like, hey, look, if you could change this, that'd be kind of great. Like me, constantly every single test I see being like, hey, please make a statue of the 7 recharge full energy for all characters, and it still has yet to be done, but I will still be putting it on every single survey. But it's kind of stuff like this, so you're just going to kind of see stuff that isn't really going to change too much, like the artifact loadouts. It's just more or less something that's a little bit more small quality of life.
I will say my favorite part of just this small section here is being able to retry a floor, like in this case, entering floor 11, chamber 2, but being able to retry even after you let it kind of complete and you know you didn't get it in time or something. Because too many times will happen where, let's say I'm on chamber 12, floor 2, I actually do it to completion, but you don't have the option to redo it because you actually completed it. If I want to redo it to get my 3 stars instead of just the 2, I have to go back through chamber 1 all over again just to get back to chamber 2 or even chamber 3 in a worse scenario technically. And so that's just really annoying. But being able to like, I think I can get it with the same team. Let me just retry it even though I let it go through. Because before this change right here, you'd have to be watching the clock and just press escape, pause the game, and be like retry challenge because you knew that you weren't going to get it. So to be able to actually kind of see if you can get it within some frames and see if you got it or not and then retry is just going to be so nice because at least for me this has happened. What I'm talking about has happened too much to me. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, especially with those 4-star teams you're trying to burn through. Get close to that 7 minute. Because I know for sure your regular account is totally fine, but yeah, I mean, even still for a lot of people, it's nice to even still for those people that don't really have to sometimes, even if you're not worrying about looking at the clock, like that's, I think the bigger thing too, is you don't have to worry about looking at the clock. So it helps you actually focus a little bit more on your rotations, and it's one less thing for you to have to necessarily worry about and kind of wait until the end. So I guess if that's an issue you might have, then cool. If you L plus ratio and just are better and somehow always look at the clock as well, if you've just gotten so accustomed to it, you've been playing so long, cool. I guess this is a useless quality of life change for you probably, but maybe it is. Maybe it's a good one. I don't know. But anyways, looking a little bit further, we have the other interface and feature optimizations. Once again, going through very simplistic changes. This one I'm actually probably more excited for, and here's why. It says that from the new version, you can tap that little special button in the test run or the talent demo on the new character's talent page to read the information of that character, explaining the new character's core combat role and skills. So it actually give you like almost a basically write like free build guide, but from the dev team, I guess, explaining what the character does, how it specifically works, and how you should be using the character specifically to get their best stacks or whatever, everything else in there. But also the biggest thing in my personal opinion is this next little segment right here. Plus, the character's talent page now supports continuous level up, no more backing out after every tap. That is one sentence and one little change that is just absolutely amazing for me because, especially when you're trying to level, I am pre-farming all the time. And I know not everybody does it, but as a character is ready to come out, like Skirk or whatever, I have everything ready to go, and I don't, or even if a character that I'm building, I usually don't sit there and slowly build their talent levels, and like build what I can, whatever day I get there, and just like level what I can. I'll usually just get everything ready for them, and then go, whenever everything's ready to go to fully build them, I'll just sit down and fully build them from the ground up. And that's just another way that you can only do that whenever a character is brand new. If you've pre-farmed, got all their materials ready, and then you go to do this, you have to sit there and hit the button confirm, and here, thankfully, you can just keep going in and out. But before, or as of right now, it's just like a click, okay, wait, back out, okay, click, okay, wait, back out. It was just, once again, it's an extra like click or two. It's more time consuming, but this is just going to make it a little bit easier. I thought when I first read this, it was going to be even better than it probably is right now. I thought we were going to be able to like do the same thing you can do with artifacts, where you can like, I want to level up to
Just
like
toggle
level
it up.
7
Just like
instantaneously.
a
Yeah, from
slider,
like
just
1 to
1
7,
to 8. All right, confirm.
and it would show you all the materials you needed if you could just instantly do it. But sadly, we can't do that. So maybe in the future, once again, maybe if I make enough noise, maybe we'll see it. But not a terrible
Maybe.
change, a pretty good one for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, good quality of life change. I really like this talent demo thing, though. Reminds me a lot of, for maybe people who don't understand this initially, reminds me a lot of Zenless, actually. When you run through a Zenless trial of a character, it actually goes through each ability of the character one at a time, telling you what you need to do, what inputs, and telling you if you did it or not, kind of one ability at a time. Whereas a trial in Genshin just throws you the character and a team with them and just says, here, defeat 12 enemies, and you have to still read the kit.
Right.
This will actually be more specific to be like, hey, press this button, use the skill now, use the burst here, then, do stuff. So it kind of reminds me of how Zenless does trials on their characters, which is a little bit
True.
more specific to actually teaching you how the character works. So I do like this a lot.
Yeah, rather than just throwing you in the fire and hoping you understand how it works. So that's fair. So the next thing we have is going to be rewards claiming UI optimized. So this is actually something that's, in my opinion, really, really cool. I think, like, especially for people who don't have the time and energy to really worry about crystal
Yeah.
flies and only have like fragiles or something like that. Especially if you don't get a lot of a lot of fragiles in general, this can still be really helpful, especially if you're grabbing the fragile every week from the teapot, which is also very easy to do. It's free to play. Pretty easy to do as long as you're keeping up on top of it. But it states that starting from version 5.7, when claiming rewards from domains or ley line outcrops, so both domains and ley lines, you can choose to consume either 1 fragile resin or 1 transient resin, equivalent to 60 original resin, both of those, to claim 3 times rewards in one go. Now, as you can see here, it'll show you, and before we used to have like a 2 option type thing where it was like, okay, you can use 20 original resin, just your regular resin, to claim 1 time. Then we had a condensed, which was like, okay, you can do it 2 times. And the thing with condensed resin, and I've always had this thing as well, is that you always have to keep in the back of your mind, gotta have crystal flies, gotta have crystal flies, gotta have crystal flies. I think that's also why the crystal fly trap became such a thing, because condensed was like, it kind of is, especially once you get later into the game, almost the necessary thing to kind of get and use. Now, this is kind of cool. In my personal opinion, I'm probably not going to be using it because I like to stockpile my fragiles so that when a new domain drops or a new character drops or whatever, and I need to just batch get ready for a character, and kind of, I'm just one of those people that wants to just have the character instantaneously build as soon as they get dropped. So I'll drop 30 fragiles on a domain, an artifact domain that just dropped or something with a new character, whatever it may be. Here, I probably won't be using this as much. But at the same time, if something does new drop, this just means that you don't have to use your transient resin and use it and turn it into regular resin and then turn it into condensed so that you can double claim. Now you can instantaneously just use your transient resin. So to an extent, I don't initially think I'm going to use it, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm doing the correct claims on domains and stuff like that, then maybe I will, in that idea if a domain kind of just comes out. So I don't know. It looks fun. It looks interesting, and it's probably going to be something that's going to be pretty helpful. Probably something I'm surprised they haven't done sooner. Probably I'm a little stupid for not thinking of it sooner myself either.
Yeah. It kind of makes me think about like, so if our fragiles in Genshin are like, fuel in Star Rail or battery in Zenless, there are other ways in those two games to get claims and stuff. It's just a different system and a different economy as far as how it works. I've actually seen some people complain about in Genshin how it takes longer to do the daily stuff as far as using your resin goes, which personally I find a little interesting. I may disagree on that because I don't know, I'm able to still fly through using my condensed resin every day. But I would even imagine though, you yourself, Vixen, like let's say when Skirt comes out, you'd actually be using this when you have to like do her talents maybe or whatever. Now I know she's much easier to pre-farm because we've already got her artifact domain now. We've got a lot of other stuff. She's pre-farmable kind of a thing. But in the sense or the case where a new character comes out, usually this happens at the beginning of a completely new just region in general. We don't have the new artifact sets. So when in the scenario the new artifact set comes out this at the same time of a new character, that's when people are like, okay, this is where I've saved my fragile resin and I gotta burn it all in this one artifact domain. So I can actually build this character since I wasn't able to pre-farm the artifact set because it didn't exist until the same day. The nice thing about here, and I've already done the math, instead of let's just say you've saved 30 fragile resins, okay, and the 6.0 character just dropped, and so did the artifact set at this on the same day. So you haven't been able to pre-farm. So your plan is to throw 30 fragile resin into the artifact domain for this new character in 6.0. The nice thing about this change right here is that, well, let me preface with this. Before this update, normally you'd have to actually use those 30 fragile resins, redeem them, let's just say, to your regular original resin that gives you 60. You can then use that to make one condensed resin and still have 20 left over. So from 30 fragile resins, you can actually get 1,800 original resin, and then that can craft 45 condensed resins. In other words, that's 45 runs through the artifact domain because you're going to use all 45 of those condensed resin, right? Now with this change though, after that, because it's allowing you to just actually use a fragile resin and not have to ever redeem those to original, then condense it, that's 30 runs. So that saves you 15 runs in that scenario where you're not pre-farming, but farming an artifact domain just all in one go. And that can be said in any scenario. If you're planning to use a bunch of fragiles all in one go on any domain or ley lines, you don't have to worry about redeeming it and then condensing it. You can just straight up use the transient or the fragile resin to just, hey, I want 3 times rewards. Boom. And so that's just going to be really nice, specifically in those scenarios, because that's going to really shave off a lot of time for just doing the same domain over and over and over. So like going from 45 runs to 30 runs in that scenario, that's a lot of just less time to have to do that. So that's really nice. And I think that's where I'd see you, Vixen, doing that in that scenario when the artifact set is like new on the same day as a character.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. At the initial look at it, it's almost kind of like, okay, why would I even do this? And then I was thinking, okay, well, only time I would be using it is when something new drops and I don't have the ability to pre-farm
Yeah.
the hell out of something. So looking at the next part that we have, though, for the next little bit of quality of life that we have left, and as you can tell, there's not much left, but we do have some other things in the Adventure Handbook. The enemy optimization, one-tap tracking for leyline outcrop. So, starting from version 5.7, the Adventure Handbook, enemies will now display the ley line outcrops, which means you can specifically go to each region and then choose whether or not you guys want to go to the specific ley lines for the Mora or for the Adventurer's Experience or whatever for the Hero's Wit for basically leveling up your characters. There's the idea. Also, after targeting or selecting a target boss in the Adventure Handbook, enemies, you can tap the question mark, which is in the top, to view its traits, resistances, weaknesses, and other archive details. Basically, it's that, question mark thing that you can instantly go to whenever you pull up your tab window or your tab wheel, your scroll wheel, whether that's whichever, wherever and however you're playing, you can pull that up and actually pull everything up and look at, the actual guide over everything. That initial pop-up when something new pops up, when you kind of look at it and you get like one primo for it, that stuff will pop up here as well for you in case you guys want to know more about the enemy you're about to go and hopefully absolutely destroy. So maybe that's just something that it's probably something we can pretty quickly go easy over. It's helping you get quicker to lane lines and helps you, I guess, I don't know, 1 or 2 clicks away from understanding exactly what boss you're kind of running into to maybe know exactly what team you want to run into with it against them. The next part we have is the chat system upgrade, which is the emoji management, which is being optimized. Basically, it allows you to choose and make your own emoji groups and then also move the emoji groups. So if you guys are some of those people that absolutely love your emojis and go crazy and feral over them, this quality of life changes for you. So it states that in the chat screen in the new version, you can tap the little settings symbol here with the heart emoji to enter the emoji group management, where you can favorite, hide, and sort both emoji groups and individual emojis as well. So you can choose certain specific individual emojis, which we've already done, and you can also choose your own emoji groups that you like more and either move them to the left or right and have specific groups that you like more. And also it looks like you can also create your own groups as well, which has its own little favorite style as well. So specifically choose some of this, ones that you actually want to use and then actually have them ready to go from different places. Actually, instead of having to scroll to the end or the beginning, I guess that's once again just another thing that's helpful specifically there. And then we have resource management. This is more for probably your mobile fans or mobile users. Specifically, you could change whenever you are grabbing the update. Before you're downloading, you can either grab the full resources or the basic resources. From what I can gather from the full resources versus basic, I think they turned down the quality a little bit, but it's not really in terms of like anything crazy. I think it keeps everything the same in terms of like resolution and everything. It's just taking out those things like, they're keeping maybe Archon quests, but maybe they're getting rid of, something small in the background that's really not necessary. Maybe they're getting rid of, some of the other things that aren't necessary in the story. And as soon as you guys get over to a specific extra story in the game, as you can see a little bit later in this next little picture, it'll state if you want to download those resources if you haven't already. Now, if for most people, especially if you are on a console, or maybe if you are on a console that doesn't have a lot of storage, this also might be something that's helpful for you as well. But if you're on a PC, you're most likely not having too much of a problem with this, so you'll probably be collecting the full resources anyways. But, for our mobile players who already have, this game is getting bigger and bigger, no matter how we kind of go around it. More nations are being added. You kind of have to realize that at some point they have to do something. So I think this is their fix a little bit here and there for you. So you can go into the resources page and they'll probably have something pulled up anyways for you to show you guys exactly what those changes are going to look like and exactly how to do it. Pull up this HoloLab thing if you're looking again to actually look for those changes, but at least that's something extra we can do here too. So
Yeah,
I know
think
I
this
kind
is
of
a
went
great
quickly,
change. No, it's good. I think this is a
but
great change because like there's only so much you can do. You can't just magically make the game smaller, because their
yeah,
assets that they have to use, they'd have to like just drastically actually decrease the quality. That's bytes, that's storage. So I think this is a great way to go around like, hey, just mitigating how the resources and assets are on your device at what time, if you're actually using it or not. So this is fantastic, I think, for mobile players. So mobile players rejoice, definitely.
yeah. I think overall though, what we could say pretty easily is, I mean, I would have to
The
say
loadouts.
probably the artifact loadouts is probably the best thing. Obviously, I think everybody's just been waiting for that the longest. I know that you're really happy about the extra retry challenge. Probably my secondary thing is definitely going to be this talent level up thing.
I like the
Um,
talent demo. That's
um,
my second favorite.
I think the unsung hero is probably going to be the transient resin idea. And that's once again probably going to be for the people who are on endgame modes where they're getting ready for new characters and can actually look at new characters and specifically get ready and pull for them. So that
It
might
is
be a
really
little
good.
bit more that's, and the reason why I say it's an unsung hero, it's probably not meant for the majority of people, but meant for those people that are maybe in the later parts of the game and are specifically only looking at new heroes and new characters to actually be pulling. So let us know what you guys think and what you're most cool thing that you guys thought was actually really, really cool about this actual developers discussion. Something that we've been waiting for a very long time for. I'm pretty sure most people are going to be saying the developers discussions part that they love the most was probably the artifact loadouts. Let us know if you guys are thinking of anything that maybe you're hoping they don't accidentally mess up, or there's no accidental bugs if you're maybe scared about, like we are. Let us know if there's anything there that we haven't already thought of and said. Go ahead and let us know down in the comments there. Also, let us know if you guys have any other thoughts about the rest of the developers discussion, what you guys have your thoughts on. It's kind of some extra, a lot of quality of life changes like any dev discussion, but I think there were actually some pretty good extra things that they threw in here. So let us know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys once again though for watching the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.